Every day starts out pretty busy around here. I have a list of 3,000 things that I want to do today and a pile of worries about what may actually happen. It sometimes feels like I'm carrying this weight all by myself. It can be tough when you have no idea what your day will bring and I have no control over what's going to happen. Sometimes it feels like a lot, and I wonder who I can really count on. Who is really controlling everything when things get hard? That's why it's so important to stay close to God and get to know His Word, the Bible. The Bible is God's true message to us about Himself, and it is full of true stories about people who went through really tough circumstances. When we read the Bible, we can see how God was with those people and help them. God is always in control. My life may feel completely overwhelming sometimes, but I'm reading a story in my Bible about 3 men who had to go through something I can't even imagine. Even in the middle of the biggest, hottest mess they could have possibly been in, God was with them and protected them. Let's read through the story together.
God protected 3 friends. Daniel 3. God's people were taken as captives by their enemies to the country of Babylon. Among the people taken from their home to live in Babylon were Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The king of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar, gave these men new Babylonian names and appointed them to important jobs in the kingdom. He called Hananiah Shadrach, Mishael Meshach, and Azariah Abednego. The king built a gold statue 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. Many important people from all over Babylon were gathered for the presentation of this new statue. All people were commanded to fall face down and worship the gold statue when they heard the sound of music play. If they did not bow down and worship, they would immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. The music played and the people bowed down and worshiped the gold statue. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would not bow down and worship the statue. They would only worship the one true God. When the king found out, he was furious. The 3 men were brought before him. He asked them, "Is it true that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold statue I have set up? When you hear the music, bow down and worship my statue. If you refuse, you will immediately be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. For who is the God who can rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, "The God we serve can rescue us from this furnace of blazing fire, and He can rescue us from your power. But even if He does not rescue us, we want you to know we will not serve your gods or worship your gold statue."
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were faced with being thrown into a furnace, but they still trusted God. They didn't know what would happen to them or if God would rescue them, but that didn't change their minds. They knew that following God was the most important thing. Let's see how the king reacted.
The king became even angrier and gave orders to make the furnace 7 times hotter. He commanded soldiers to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace. The flames were so hot that they killed the soldiers who threw the men into the fire. Suddenly, King Nebuchadnezzar looked into the furnace. "Look, I see 4 men not tied, walking around in the fire unharmed." So Nebuchadnezzar called out, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out!" So the 3 friends came out of the furnace, and everyone there saw that the fire had not burned their bodies. Not a hair on their heads was singed, and their clothes didn't even smell of fire. Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sent his angel and rescued his servants who trusted him." The king ordered that no one should speak against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's God, because there is no other God who can save like this.
God protected Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the middle of a scary and impossible circumstance. Hopefully none of us have to face a fiery furnace. But there are going to be a lot of things in our lives that feel out of control. We may have people we love who are sick. There may be people who are mean to us. We could be in a new place where we don't know anyone, or a thunderstorm could ruin our softball tournament. All these things can make you feel overwhelmed and even insecure. But just like the 3 men in the story, when you feel insecure, you can trust that God is always with you. He is unshakable. There's another place in the Bible that reminds us that God is our strength when life feels out of control. Psalm 46:1 says, "God is our refuge and strength, a helper who is always found in times of trouble." When God sees our circumstances, He's not afraid, He's not far away, and He's not worried about how things will work out. So that means that we don't have to be afraid. We can know that He is always with us. I can be brave in every situation because I know that God is in control. I'm so glad God is in control of my circumstances and I can be secure in Him.